It's great to see you, Robert. Hi.
Hi. It's great to be here. Looking forward to this interview.
It's already our second interview, which is called 9 Questions to Robert Dilts.
Okay.
And today, as always, we have very interesting questions to you.
I'm certain.
Thank you for being with us and agree to answer.
With pleasure.
Okay, so question number 1. What new projects, goals you have for 2023?
Well, there's a number of projects. Some are projects that are continuing, but so one of the major projects is continuing on with this SFM for healthcare. And I'm especially working here in Paris with a Center for Integrative Medicine. So I think this to me is a very important future for healthcare, is an integrative approach. And so that's going to be very important. And along with that is going to be the SFM for healthcare book. I'm also I'm almost finished with the volume 3 of generative coaching. And we are meeting this week to start also a project of putting the SFM programs in an online format where there will be a dashboard that people can use. And of course, it will be able to be translated into multiple languages. So we'll be wanting to get we'll start with the success factor modeling 1, next generation entrepreneur, and start to get those up online. And yeah, and then there's, as we've already been mentioning, this next steps of the mindset map. So we have a new inventory that's coming out that will be on leadership. So there's lots of projects in different dimensions in healthcare, in the success factor modeling, and yeah, and then we are doing our at NLP University this year we're doing the master trainer training, which will also then be done like we've done the other NLPU programs in the previous years, where again the major part of it is online through a series of master classes. And so it's kind of moving in this direction of having things be more available, online and in multiple languages. So those are some of the projects.
So it's amazing how many projects you have and different connections with people for your collaboration. It's really inspiring. And I'll have even later a special question about that.
I would ask you right now.
So, okay, let's ask you this right now.
Okay.
What is your daily schedule, and how do you balance work and play?
Aha. Well, so what's my daily schedule? It depends, of course, a little bit on which day and what's happening, but I always will for sure. Usually I'm getting up and doing a quick check of emails just to see if there's anything urgent, and then I'm going running, as you know, for at least 60 to 80 minutes, or sometimes 90 minutes. And then I'm usually after that having a small breakfast, and I don't eat lunch. I usually just have a little bit during the day. But then depending upon what's happening, I'm usually if I'm working on a book, there's a certain times for that. If I'm working, I might have meetings scheduled. Interestingly, in terms of balancing work and play, for me, a lot of my work is like play. So it's not like work.
It was a tricky question, yes.
I enjoy it so much, but there is important to have a work-life balance. So Usually with Deborah, one of the things we like to do is to take a walk together before dinner. And that walk is sort of our sacred relationship time, where we're not talking about, plans or business. We do that enough, but it's just for us. And then, we did, like, for example, last weekend, we took 3 days and went to ski in the French Alps. So we try to have these times where we're doing something that is, with my son and with other people, so that we are doing something that's not just work related. We often schedule what we call, our word for it is honey time. And honey time is the time for just us. And it might be just part of a day, or it might be, a day or a couple of days, like in a couple of months, we'll have honey time in London. We'll go, and we won't be doing work or meetings. It'll be just to enjoy together. Honey time. Yeah. And then sometimes, to balance, not all the time, because sometimes we do have working dinners where we're actually working over dinner. But one of our favorite things to do that we got started during the pandemic was, at dinner, we watch a Netflix series that's usually only like a half an hour. It's not going to be all night, but we'll do,
not so much things.
Yeah. So those are the types of things. I think what's important, Oksana, is that there is an ongoing intention for balance, and knowing that there's a lot to do and that we're busy, and then trying to find what really brings that balance and keep it dynamic, so it's not too rigid, because what works sometimes is not going to work other times. But I think just holding that intention.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Just shared your strategy with us. Amazing.
Yeah. And like I say, I think when work is also pleasure, it's great, but it also is a little bit tricky too, because you need to do it. Doesn't.
It's a key part. Yeah. If you don't like your work, you still have to work. And if you don't like your work, what kind of pleasure you have?
Exactly. And I think that's where people kind of go to big polarities,
Yes.
But, yeah.
Yes.
Well, what about the second volume of Sleight of Mouth?
Yes.
I forgot. Yes, I forgot those. Excuse me. There is the second volume of Sleight of Mouth and the fourth volume of Strategies of Genius, which is coming out. And the fourth volume of Strategies of Genius is on Erickson, Bateson, Feldenkrais, and Gabrielle Roth. So I'm finally getting a woman in there. And this fourth volume is all people that they're geniuses. The difference between them and all the others is they're all people that I have personal relationship and personal contact with.
Wow.
So those are
great news.
Yeah. So those should be out by the summer sometime.
Wow.
So
yeah.
I'm looking forward. How great. How long did you write them?
Well, I'm still working on these, but, I've been collecting materials for them for years. And it's interesting. It just feels my schedule has opened enough that it's like, okay, I can actually have the time to really do these. And, like doing this program is it's a good motivation for me to be, thinking about Sleight of Mouth and working on it. So.
Yeah. We are all looking forward to the second module.
Yes.
Second Sleight of Mouth too.
A lot of the really interesting Sleight of Mouth patterns are in the second one too as well.
Oh. So
there's so many interesting questions here. Some from the group.
Okay.
So question number 4, I guess it's number 4. What is the most useful thing,
My handwriting.
what is the most useful thing for you is about NLP?
What's the most useful thing about NLP?
Right.
Well,
Assuming there's a presupposition there.
That
right now,
something is
I
more
I actually have been quoted as saying, it's all, you can find it on the internet, of saying I use NLP for everything except breathing. And then, of course, actually I do that is also something, intentional breathing. But I think the most useful thing about NLP, of course, is that it gives you it gives you a way to understand and structure experiences so that you can make them accessible to yourself and to others. I mean, it's magical what you can do with NLP. You can, this idea of finding, that NLP is the study of the structure of subjective experience, and that is something that, for me to be able to, it's like I'm just finishing 2 books. I'm writing 2 more books, and it used to take like 2 years to write 1 book. So, when you can use NLP, it makes everything more easy. Everything is more efficient. Everything flows more because you've got it's working on all those different levels and getting them aligned, and then
intelligence.
it helps you to get in a flow state, I guess. So
Wow. Yeah, I completely agree. When I started to study NLP, it gives so much freedom to
yes,
choose to react. And
yeah,
I remember when first time I met you, it was in London for generative coaching certification. I
yes.
came to you were on the stage, and it was little stage. So I came to you, and I see you're so tall because for me it's like you're a legend. And I asked you, my first question was, I introduced myself, are you Russian sponsors? And and then I asked you, how could you write so many books? And you answered, I'm just using NLP.
Exactly. It's great what you can do with NLP,
Exactly.
It's
So
yeah.
So structuring your time, it gives so you, it's like your creation. Then it's not something that you have to adapt to or make peace with. You create it yourself.
Right. Thank you, Richard. I think that's a good point, is that, I remember actually on this ski trip we were just on, we were there with my son, and then there was another young couple that was with us that are good friends. And they were asking him about, did you do what, when you were little, did your father do NLP on you? And he said, well, it was just a natural part of our day. He knows all the NLP, but it's not like we sat down and we're like, we're going to do NLP now. It's part of when you can, like you say, Richard, sort of own it, then it's not something external to you. And to me, that's what NLP always should be. It's a description of what we do that works. That was my first definition of it, actually, is NLP is anything that works, and it's just a description of how it works. So, that's, and it's a description in a way that breaks it down so that it's easier to do. So, yeah.
But by the way, I'd just like to add, Robert, that over and over from many different people, from students in different countries, I've heard that they really enjoy studying with you because they can understand the ideas, at least enough of them to get something to chew on. And it's this, somehow you have a gift for making accessible, something that other people explain in very complicated ways. So I just wanted to pass that on.
Well, thank you. I mean, that is something that I'm constantly, that's the thing I'm constantly intentionally trying to do. It's like, even like when we're doing these the Sleight of Mouth sessions today, I'm constantly trying to think of, you know, like earlier when I was saying, well, how can I show chunking down in a simple way or something?
I like
You
that.
know, that's,
I like that too.
yeah. So it's a joy. It's a joy for me and a mission to me to be able to communicate and to communicate as, you know, as Einstein, you know, said, you know, it's about sort of, you know, the most challenging thing sometimes is to make something simple, but not too simple. You know, that's the task. And I love, you know, I love communicating. I love teaching. I love seeing people be empowered and be able to use something. So I'm glad that happened.
You know, your patience seems endless. I mean, I can't imagine how many times you've told the story about Milton Erickson, but every time it's fresh and new, and somebody's hearing it for the first time. I admire your ability to teach.
Well, thank you. I mean, you know, but it is fresh, and it's fresh from a couple of reasons. One is everything is fresh when we're growing, because I get something new out of it myself. Mm-hmm. Secondly, you know, it's like when you are raising a child. Remember when my kids were little, and like, you know, you see a particular animal for the first time, and it's, you know, look at that, you know, and so you pick up that excitement, and it is exciting. Yeah. It's exciting to say, oh, this place of discovery, it's so you know, it's so enriching, and it's so joyful. So
yeah, like contact high. So
yeah, exactly. Mirror neuron high. Yeah.
So question number 6, number 5. Are you an optimist, Robert?
I would say yes. That's a simple. I'm a look. You know, I
would say yes.
I'm a realist, but ultimately an optimist. I remember doing an interview once with a leader where he said, you know, you have to be confident enough to acknowledge doubt. You know, so it's to me, being an optimist doesn't mean just being a dreamer. Being an optimist means, remember this same guy said, look, I have no illusions about human nature, but I have a very strong belief about what's possible. And I think that's what, if optimism means I have a strong belief about what is possible, then for sure, that's what my life is about, is, you know, looking to the future, seeing what's possible, having a grounded hope, you know, not a false hope or a, you know, but yeah, I tend to think that things are going to, you know, go towards the best, which doesn't mean that there's not problems and dangers and difficulties, but, you know, energy flows where attention goes. So I'm going to put my attention on, you know, what could be the best possible outcome.
We are with you, Robert.
Yeah.
How else can you continue? I think like Erickson told us that life will bring you pain itself. Your responsibility it's to create joy.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. We are going to draw towards us what we're creating, you know. So if it's what is it? There's that thing they used to call the secret, you know, which is if I put it out there, it's going to draw towards it that, you know, that same energy. And I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not a panacea, but it certainly does. No. It influences.
And it's not, I mean, I think there's a difference between real, you know, grounded optimism and magical thinking. You know, grounded optimism means, again, you acknowledge what is, you start with what is, you acknowledge the doubt, and then you still keep going towards what is going to be the best possible outcome.
Yeah, I'm a grounded optimist. The other guy is just a wild, you know, wild.
I agree. Yes. I agree. That's part of where I think we resonate around this. So yes.
And by the way, the next question is following, just right on the wave. If you had a magic wand, what is the first thing you would change?
Wow, that's a great question. And I guess it means what a change in myself or change in the world or change in others. I have to kind of what
if there's a difference.
Yeah. So I guess I'd have to specify a little bit when I think of that magic wand and what do I think would be the most important. I think, maybe this is, I don't know, maybe this is a little bit of a cheating question, but I think if I had to wave that magic wand, it would be like, wouldn't it be great if everybody in the world, including politicians and everyone else, knew NLP instantly? Then we'd have a whole other vocabulary, a whole other way of being able to work with each other, a whole, everybody would have a tool set that we could really, get to work at solving things.
Collaborate, yeah.
So
yeah.
and maybe that's what I've been trying to do all my life is spread NLP enough that, okay.
Question, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as it turned out, that it was really a game changer. And
yeah,
I mean, who could ever have imagined back in the 70s, it changed the world.
But it was that interesting thing, Richard. I sometimes share that back in the 70s, I had this crazy, weird, fantasy or, premonition that this was going to do, this was what that was going to be, even though I was 19 or 20 years old, but it was like, wow, I could just see that. I mean, not necessarily visually as a single image, but just that sense that this is going to make a difference. And why, how, I don't know, but it's been there. And yeah.
Because of you guys and people who supported it with you together in this movement all around the world, I think.
Yeah.
I think because of people who passed knowledge and skills to their students, they pass around to their students. So and then it works. It works. That's why it's so extended, because it works.
I remember John Grinder urging me to become an agent of entropy. I was never quite sure, but I guess what it meant was stir things up a little bit. I think
it's still right about you.
Yes.
But this idea about NLP and why it was proved to be so influential, I think, at least for one thing, is nobody could ever control it. And
exactly.
God knows there were many attempts, but it's uncontrollable, and that's one of it's like open source. It's
precisely. I think one of the most interesting developments that's happening in the world today is the generative AI. And I don't know if you've had any experience of used Chat GPT or anything like that, but
I read about it.
It's impressive. I just to give you an example, I typed in, what about success factor modeling? And in 24 seconds, it comes back with 5 paragraphs that were not just repetitions of anything that I'd written, but it actually was a really good summary of what success factor modeling was. And I thought, I would like to hire this thing to write my copy. Maybe it'll even write my next book. I don't know. But I bring it up because it's open source, right? It's open source. And that's, if Google or whatever had tried to do that itself, would not have happened. We need open source. And then, of course, there's the challenges with that. We also know that because NLP maybe wasn't as strictly controlled, that's why people say, well, it's out there, too many people are misusing it, etc. But it's a balance, and I think I would rather lean towards the open source than the closed source, personally.
Yes.
Well, because who's going to close it? Whoever is the one going to control it.
Yeah. then
Yeah.
it starts to lose all of the collective intelligence that is there.
Oh, yeah, right. And then you have, the sort of the Musk version of
Right.
collective intelligence, which is somewhat reduced.
Pretty reduced. Yeah,
So
exactly.
I think the question of feedback is very important. If you're transparent to feedback from people, from your viewers, from your readers, students, and close people, then you kind of, your system is self-improving, self-learning.
Exactly.
But if feedback, if you put yourself in the close
Yeah.
bubble, which is not allowing other people opinion to seek through, it's
Exactly.
dangerous. It's dangerous for other people, it's dangerous for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's what your guys' emphasis on community is so important. That's what we need is community that is again not in its own enclosed bubble, but is reaching out to.
Yeah.
Many connections.
I have to really congratulate Oksana with that, Robert. It's been her ceaseless, it's her, the idea that she keeps always in her mind, and she never stops. It's whatever she's doing, it's always there. She's taking another photo for the post, or she's writing something, a letter to somebody. She just,
Thank you, Richard.
Indefatigable.
Thank you very much, guys. It's
and you too, Robert, by the way.
It's an honor for me.
Yeah.
Support such a teachers. It's a great honor, and I think I'm lucky and blessed to be able to be near by you and studying with you. Model you. It means a lot for a lot of people for all around the world. So I'm grateful that you're doing those projects.
It was one of the main reasons that people said that they bought the course, was that they wanted to model you.
Okay, great.
Second place, I think, right?
Yes, we did the questionnaire.
Yeah.
So we have other questions.
But this is half an hour, guys. I think we have to play fair here.
We have 2 questions.
I know, but half an hour is half an hour.
No, it's not.
We agreed on 20 minutes.
It's if Robert can stay a little bit longer.
Okay, I'll try to answer as quickly as I can. Okay. Because I know speaking of community, I know that there's a networking time that has to happen.
And we are missing our meetings and dinners afterwards, so it's kind of possibility to speak a little bit.
We'll reschedule a community meeting. We'll have
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Question number 7. What are you exploring?
What problem in human behavior?
What problem?
In my handwriting.
Thank you. What problem in human behavior are you exploring, investigating right now? What is the
from the chat.
Cutting edge work?
I think right now in our world, the biggest problem of human behavior is the level of divisiveness that's happening in terms of that. I mean, I just see it more and more where, I mean, certainly you see it in the very clear in places like American politics, where you're not having conversations, you're not getting some kind of integration. It's just this increased polarization. And you said it well earlier, Oksana, about creating these bubbles. So it's actually one of the interesting kind of paradoxes of a lot of the social media is you think they were developed in order to create all of this bigger connection, but what happens, the way the algorithms and everything are written, is that you just get more and more and more of what you already think. I know if I put in a search engine a certain thing, I'm going to start getting all kinds of stuff related to that where I know that somebody, some algorithm or some program has been set up to just do that. So I think this ability to get outside of our own box, outside of our own bubble, from this place of curiosity is important. And we've been emphasizing that in the 2 days of the program, because sleight of mouth can be certainly so used for divisiveness, to create more, distance, to create more, negative judgment. So I think that's probably one of the major problems of human behavior is how do we have a strong sense of our own identity without needing to negate something else,
How to create more connections instead using
Yeah.
those tools.
Yeah.
But isn't it weird that Zuckerberg discovered that conflict sells and that
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
is there something in our DNA, something
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's like Lawrence described the instinct of aggression, I think. So it's just
Yeah.
too many people and so crowded, even going to internet, you have access to everyone
Yeah.
immediately. So kind of those people who probably have this division of hemispheres not connected very much, they have a tendency to choose one of the side.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's everybody though. I
I
mean, the
think-
exceptions are rare.
We are mammals with two half of brain.
Yeah.
So that, I think
That's in the best of circumstances.
some of
Yeah.
some of them they already have one half work. We know who they are. We know who they are.
Yeah. So again, I think that problem of how to promote real, connectivity, but also curiosity, a curiosity about other points of view. Yeah. I mean, again, I think most of the things that we can see that are the challenges today come because of a particular kinds of mindset and attitude that just, creates compartmentalization and then again, conflict. And like you say, Richard, maybe that's something that's interesting or attractive in some way. Maybe there's some positive intention there, but that's the thing that I think needs to be somehow worked with and maybe, hopefully resolved somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's worth going further right now, but you'd have to ultimately ask the question about Murdoch and other people that have profited, well, Zuckerberg included.
Exactly.
Because this world now is a lot different than the one I grew up in.
For sure.
Exactly.
We all listened to Walter Cronkite, and he basically was the conscience of
Right.
of the States. So now, whatever your particular niche is, you can find an outlet for that and just turn it up full volume and hear nothing else. So there's no moderating influence.
Only people around you who approve your beliefs.
But it must be somehow in a capitalist system or something like it. It must be profitable, and
Yeah.
that's I don't know. So let's not go further. It's
But I think it's profitable in a capitalist system, though, only because it's interesting to people, or they pay for it. So it's a kind of a cycle. So why is that so intriguing to people? Why is it that they like that? And I have a feeling, maybe a little bit to do with not only profit, but also the sense of identity, that it's identity that is against another. I only know who I am by what I'm not. If I'm a conservative, I'm not a liberal, and the liberals are bad, as opposed to I have a deeper identity. We had a big conversation recently with people about the difference between identity and identification. And I think it's this identification then that, you start getting right and wrong and good and bad and right map of the world, wrong map of the world. And so maybe that's another
idea. That's really an interesting idea, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a new question and a whole area to explore.
I have
I hope the last question is a friendly one.
I hope I have one short question and one blessing question.
Okay.
The short question is number 8. What are your hobbies, Robert? Your drawing, music hobbies, drawing or musician, running, and something else? What are you doing for like your hobbies? What do you like to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly, obviously, I'm running. Music is always a hobby. I'm not doing as much music right now as I'd like to.
We heard you play.
Yeah, we heard you play piano.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
And your drawings, of course, are
drawing on even on those
well known.
even
Yes.
on our Sleight of Mouth slide there, your drawings, right?
Yes, there's some of the drawings there. Yeah, and I think, of course, because Deborah, my wife, is involved in dance, dancing is it's another way to engage the body in a different way. So that's another hobby of mine. Sometimes it's the 5 rhythms, but other times it's just dance. So yeah, and for me, there's always nature is a hobby of mine. And what I mean by that is, of course, I like to go out in nature, but at both of our homes, we have like bird feeders and things to get. So I'm fascinated by nature, and I actually like to, keep up it's a hobby to make a place where wildlife of whatever can be there. There's not much in Paris, but besides the birds, but that is somehow supporting and encouraging wildlife. And that some of I don't know if they're hobbies or habits, but I think things to do to encourage the environment. I think we need to. Somebody said, if we really love nature, you're going to take care of nature. You don't have to do it because it's your duty, or you have to because you're supposed to because of climate change, but you'll want to treat it well and nurture it. So I have those, always had a lot of affection and things for animals and for nature. So that's one of my other hobbies.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. Some very interesting questions and answers.
Yes, thank you for this. And you said there's a blessing question. I wasn't sure what the blessing question.
The last blessing question, if you can, this magic wand can say like 3 positive beliefs to people, or 3 or more. If you can say what kind of beliefs you would pass it through.
So if I understand, if you had a magic wand, what 3 magic beliefs would you instill in people, I guess?
So would you grow in people? Would you magically
I think a lot of these beliefs would just come down to some of the NLP presuppositions that that we have the resources that we need, that the resources are there in our system. If we can find them, that for me, I have like we were saying, I have a belief in I don't know how to say, in people, that if we are truly connected from a place of our authenticity, something good is going to emerge. I don't know, we don't always know what it's going to be, but the best of us will come out somehow. I think, also we were talking about being involved in things like NLP, that we have the capacity to figure things out and make things better, that we can do that. It is doesn't have to be a duty or a responsibility that creates some kind of heaviness, but it's something that can be joyful, that when we're really doing what is coming from our, deep, authentic self, it's going to be easy, and it's going to be good, and it's going to make a difference. So maybe those would be the ones that come to me right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much for sharing from your heart. It's
You're
so
welcome.
interesting.
Thank you, Oksana, for organizing this.
Thank you. And thank you for the questions, and whoever was also contributing the questions. So.
Yeah, a couple from the group.
So we'll see you next week, right?
Yes, it's great to be able to say I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Like, yes. After waiting so long, it's like, okay, see you next week.
Yeah,
It's
with
great,
pleasure.
really great. It's a great pleasure for us.
Everybody have a good rest of your evening, and I will see you next week.